If you allow an excuse to be a containing fence, then you're stopped right there. You're not going any further. On the other hand, if you look at it as a hurdle, you jump over it, or you go under, or you go around it, or you go through it. But every hurdle helps you to become stronger for the next hurdle.
Do you ever feel, as you look back on your life and compare it to where you are now, that there is a master author who is writing a story, and sometimes you feel just as surprised as you read the next chapter as we are when we hear you talk about it?
Well, Kirk, that question completely captures how I feel. I sometimes feel like I'm on the outside looking at this incredible story. And just amazing things have continued to happen, throughout my life. And a lot of wonderful things. And I know that as an individual, I'm not that great. And there's somebody else operating this whole story. And I ask him every day to continue to do so. I said, please use me, Lord, as your vessel to affect good in the world, to be someone who advocates for you and maybe someone who draws others to you.
Dr. Carson, what kind of encouragement can you give to young kids today who are growing up in poverty, who do have low self-esteem, who are not getting great grades? They have essentially lost hope, and they think that their future has already been determined.
Well, I would say, remember, you're made in the image of God. And that includes your brain, the human brain. Billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions of interconnections. It remembers everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. It can process more than 2 million bits of information in 1 second. You can't overload it. Some people say, don't learn this, you'll overload your brain. You can't overload the human brain. If you learned one new fact every second, it would take you more than 3 million years to begin to challenge the capacity of your brain. So God gave you plenty up there. And it's up to you to decide what you want to do with it. When I thought that I was stupid, I didn't even pay close attention to what the teacher was saying because I figured I wouldn't understand it anyway. But when I had a complete revolution in my thinking, not only did I listen to the teachers, and not only did I get A's in my subjects, I said, that's not nearly enough. And I would spend all my extra time outside of the classroom learning on my own, learning much more than was required in the classroom. And that set me on a trajectory of academic success. But you have to recognize that the person who is ultimately responsible for what happens to you is you. And how do you react to the situations that you are in? If you allow an excuse to be a containing fence, then you're stopped right there. You're not going any further. On the other hand, if you look at it as a hurdle, you jump over it, or you go under, or you go around it, or you go through it. But every hurdle helps you to become stronger for the next hurdle. So you can stop and complain, or you can go over the hurdle.
I love it. Dr. Carson, you and your wife, Candy, founded the Carson Scholars Fund. Could you tell us why you created that and what you hope to accomplish with it?
Well, I would go into schools all over the country, and almost the first thing you're met with when you come to the front doors are the trophy cases. All state this and all state that, wrestling and football and baseball and basketball. But what about the academic superstars? What did they get? Maybe a National Honor Society pin and a pat on the head. There, you little nerd. I mean, nobody really cared very much about that. And I said, this is not good. It's just a reason that we score near the bottom, particularly in the STEM areas, in the international academic evaluation studies. So we said, we've got to make it special to be smart. So we started giving out awards for the kids who achieved at the highest levels academically and who also demonstrated that they cared about other people. Both components being just as important. And, we've had just spectacular students. We gave out last year the 10,000 scholarship. One of our scholars was the first Time Magazine Kid of the Year. I mean, these are really amazing, amazing people. And when they get rewarded and they get a monetary reward starting in the fourth grade, all of a sudden, maybe they're not so much the nerd. You got a scholarship? What? In the fourth grade, the fifth grade? And a lot of teachers tell us that when there's a scholar in their classroom, a lot of the other kids start working at it much harder, and their grades improve too. And then we also put in reading rooms, particularly in Title I schools. These are very special places that carry the characteristics of the area they exist in. Like there's a reading room near one of the NASA facilities that's shaped like a space capsule. And you go in there and it's got all the equipment. You look through one window, you can see the Earth. Another one, you see the moon. Another one, you see ET. And these things kind of stimulate the imaginations of the kids. And they have wonderful books in them. We want to make sure that the kids are learning the right stuff.
That's right.
Because Vladimir Lenin, the first head of the Soviet Union, about Marxists, said, give me your children to teach for 4 years, and the seed that I sow will never be uprooted. And that's why they're so interested in getting to our children early and indoctrinating them in our schools, and why we must be aggressive to do otherwise. And I encourage the audience to go to littlepatriotslearning.com. It's a part of the American Cornerstone Institute. Beautiful lessons K through 5 on who we are as America, and all the points of our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the fact of the matter is, objective reading will show you that there's a lot more good than there is bad and ugly. And we have wonderful animations. We hired animators who are non-woke, by the way. In our Star Spangled Adventures, you have beautiful lessons. We recently did Columbus, the Declaration of Independence, the Boston Tea Party, lessons, plans to go along with them. And it's free of charge. That's the really key, because we get underwriters to underwrite the program. When you look at it, you'll say, how can this be free? It's because there are wonderful people who want to make sure that our kids get the right information.